Oh, they were just girls they didn't know.
I really think they're being trafficked.
She is distributing child sexual assault material.
The only person I've heard back from is Justin Gelbin. He trains the Victoria's Secret models. He did send 2 emails, but they were quite aggressive.
But of course, when you have connections, it gets swept under the rug.
I don't get it.
They were facing felony criminal charges for this.
Out there luring these girls in to traffic them, and then they're paying for their own abuse unknowingly.
And for it to be under the cover of a federal nonprofit.
Y'all need to do something. Contact somebody. Investigate this.
We are here today with Tara Rule again to talk about some updates in the Anand Jon Alexander case and investigation. So welcome, Tara. Let's just get into this. If you guys are new here and you don't know what's going on, go back and watch our last video. But otherwise, let's get into these updates because you found some really, really interesting stuff yesterday.
Yeah, so I've been I've taken it upon myself to do more digging. I was working closely with a detective at CDCR since January. And I had reached out to, pretty much anyone I have found that I've added to my evidence map. I've reached out to for comment because I know, I'm working on this documentary series and I've been covering this on my social media. I'm not a journalist, but journalistic integrity, whatever. I like to give people an opportunity to comment. So I've been reaching out to anyone and everyone for comment. The only person I've heard back from is a man named Justin Gelbin. He's like a celebrity fitness trainer. He trains the Victoria's Secret models. He trained the girls at the Star Farm up in the Bay Area. It was supposed to be a reality show. I did hear some concerning testimony from some of the younger girls about some of things he was allegedly doing. But I also had videos of him like in the car filming himself. Hey, we're off to the airport to pick up some girls. Can't wait to blah, blah, blah. So, I'd reached out to him and I had asked him if he was aware of Anand Jon Alexander's affiliation with, the theBfly and ExoWare and Gems One, the million names they go under. And if he had a, awareness, his level of awareness, if any, of Anand Jon's convictions, any awareness of any ongoing claims of abuse and exploitation, and what his understanding was of his role with the theBfly. And I had gotten a number of emails back from him, most of which contained nothing in the body of the email. It would either be a no subject line or it would just say, call me in all caps with like his phone number. He did send 2 emails with body in the text that I can send you. They were quite aggressive, very accusatory, very threatening of like, you're trying to do a defamation thing. My whole family is lawyers and I could have been one, which kind of made me chuckle based on his response. He denied a bunch of things that I never even brought up. So, I was a little less inclined to believe him anyway, because he's like, I never picked up anyone from the airport, but I had told him off the jump that I had videos of him picking up girls from the airport with the metadata. It's not AI, right? So in his emails, he was like, this is completely legitimate because, I've been working with the rabbi and the warden and, to do fitness classes and nutrition classes for the prisoners of San Quentin. And that's how I met Anand and that's how I met Eliana, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And he kept bringing up this warden. So I went back through all of my all the articles from like San Quentin News or anything on like International Justice Alliance, anything that I could find that was like associated with San Quentin Prison and Anand specifically, or any of his coalitions that he's created out of there, like, the racial activism coalition, all these things. And there were 3 different wardens whose names kept popping up. And in Anand's most recent coalition that he created out of San Quentin, I can send you a copy of that as well, that says he can collect donations through this coalition, which is interesting. I don't know what
Where does the money go?
That's a good question. But it was signed off on by one of these wardens. So again, I was corresponding daily almost with this CDCR detective. And I sent him one email and I said, hey, aren't these your coworkers? Are you aware of this? Radio silence since I have not heard a peep back. So I'm not saying he's part of this whatsoever. I mean, he gave me a ton of information that I don't believe he would have given me. And places to look that I wouldn't have found otherwise, which I
Mhm.
doubt he would have done if he wasn't on my side about this. I'm sure it might just be something like he's supposed to be overseeing these people. He is their boss. And, that might not be good, like, oh, this has been happening under my nose for a while. I understand they're super understaffed anyway. It was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to try to figure out what to do with this. So I've been contacting any politicians I can think of that have spoken out about this, like Tablets for Prisoner program or whatever. But I was speaking with a survivor yesterday, and I know that when they get young girls to come to either a film set or a retreat, an event, whatever the case may be, they do usually want girls who are from out of the area originally. They are required to pay for their own travel expenses. If they stay in a hotel, they are required to, reimburse Eliana, who runs theBfly, from the outside world
So
for any other
Eliana
expense.
books it and then they have to reimburse her for whatever
That
she
is
books?
that is correct. So
Hmm.
they have to pay for their own food, like they have to pay for everything. And the girl I was speaking with yesterday has been, following this along. She is an adult, so she is, she's done a bit more digging around. So she was aware of the International Justice Alliance, whereas these other girls are not, especially the younger girls. They don't know anything about that. They don't know anything about this stuff. And she was like, yeah, so when I had to pay for my room, Eliana, called me and said, hey, you still owe me for your portion of the hotel room where they were shoving 10 girls and dogs into one hotel room. Anyway, she was like, you can PayPal me. And she said, okay, great. And the link that was sent was the PayPal for the International Justice Alliance, which is their 501c3 nonprofit run by Anand Jon Alexander and people like Marvin Much, who are going to go get their sentencing, and he will end up back in San Quentin for the rest of his life, presumably in the same wing as Anand because he's in protective custody with all the other pedophiles. And considering Marvin Much
Mhm.
is too a child abuser, I would imagine that he will probably end up in there with his buddy so they can enjoy that.
And the nice thing is that since he hasn't been serving consecutively, he won't qualify under that elderly release program.
Correct. So I reached out to a few of the other girls. I was like, hey, when you had to reimburse, how did you do that? Was it Apple Pay? What was it? And they're like, no, it was a PayPal. And I've gotten numerous things. So I'm like, okay, so not only are these people committing tax fraud, but additionally, these girls are unknowingly funding their own abuse.
Right. And none
Disgust.
of it's being reported to the IRS, like you pointed out. I haven't been able to find any 990s, and those are the kinds of things that would need to be reported on there. Where are you getting your donations from, and that type of thing.
And I understand too, like I know in Texas, because, Rajesh K. Jose, their, attorney for the International Justice Alliance, the one that likes to send out the witness intimidation emails to the little girls that go to the FBI.
Sweetheart.
The current registration is under his name, Rajesh K. Jose, and is registered to the address is his law firm, which I guess is
Mhm.
acceptable depending on where you live. You can run, I guess, a 501c3 out of anything. However, there was a previous address that I'm not sure of. I don't know if they're registered in any other states. On the IRS website, I only found Texas. I only found it currently registered to him. It appeared to me, based on something you had sent me in the past, and I'm not too savvy when it comes to IRS tax forms, it appeared as though it had lapsed at some point because they failed to file something. Because even if you make under $50,000, there's a supplemental form you have to file saying, yeah, we made under that, but like, yes, we are operating effectively. I guess the IRS will be like, well, clearly this is not an operating organization. We'll shut it down. That was
Mhm.
my understanding.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
so if you don't file 990s for 3 years in a row, they automatically say, oh, well, they're just not a functioning organization
right.
anymore. So they cancel any 501c3 status and then
Okay.
revoke the state business standing. So I didn't find anything for them in California under the Secretary of State site and
Which
only
you're
found them
kind of
in Texas as well.
it My understanding, because I did a recent piece on colossal management, and, they run in a number of, they operate out of all states, right? They're one of these like pay for play contest things of like world's best teacher or like whatever, things like that. I know that there were so many tax documents I had to go through because although they were registered in, I believe, Arizona, they still had all of these registrations they had to do with all 50 states or, whatever, however many freaking states we have to make sure that they can operate out of those states and collect donations that way. I know for a fact that International Justice Alliance has only ever put on symposiums, forums, events. All of this crap is all in California. It's usually in Malibu at the Marwa Estate or, in the Bay Area. I have never seen them do anything even out of Texas. And my understanding is that's kind of frowned upon by the IRS because obviously there are more lax rules in certain states, right?
Right.
And California
And
is pretty
California
like,
has
they're
some of the
pretty tough.
strictest. Yeah.
So if you're going to commit tax fraud, you're probably not going to register your 501c3 in the state of California. But, that's odd to me. And I'm definitely going to have to figure out how to report that because if for no other reason, they are not filing the paperwork they need to, even if they're not making a lot of money. But I've been wondering for a while, how are they even generating any money? And to find out they're luring these girls in to traffic them and then they're paying for their own like abuse unknowingly.
And for it to be under the cover of a federal nonprofit.
These people, I mean, I've been saying for a long time they're stupid. They are stupid in some ways, but they're brilliant when it comes to marketing. And honestly, that realization yesterday and those documents I got and the screenshots and the, PayPal transactions, it was so sick to me that I'm like, this is actually one of the most evil things I've ever seen. Like, you have to be so sick to even come up with something like that. I am really pissed about that. And I'm also really pissed about his sister, which I would also love to go into because she's found out some interesting stuff about
Yeah.
her. So did you.
Right. Yeah. So I came across a few articles from, I believe was it 2013, 2015, the mid 2010s, we'll say. And she and Miss Universe were
He's with them.
in India at the Taj Mahal. And from everything I could put together from the like two articles that are still existing around about this, it sounds like Sanjana was kind of the one that was like urging Miss Universe to take these like shoe photos in front of the Taj Mahal or something, which they very much frowned upon, and they were facing felony criminal charges for this.
Uh-huh.
But of course, when you have connections, it gets swept under the rug. Oh, they were just girls they didn't know.
I'm finding that's what she's doing with a lot of these things. I found some like behind the scenes footage of when they went to the Vatican, for instance. And they're just like in a line for a photo op with the Pope. And, it's like waiting in line to get your picture taken with Santa. It's like they get these clippable moments of them like, oh, let's take a photo together. And they throw up a picture of Anand and then write fake articles, buy ad space on like Time Magazine's online platform and make it look like a Time Magazine article. I mean, it's from a marketing standpoint, it's pretty smart.
Right. And like you said,
Other
if
than that,
they were using their powers for good instead of evil, they'd
or
be
even
really
just like for
successful.
capitalism, something like
Right.
that's like
Exactly.
even something shitty. It's just like I fail to understand this, like all of these people putting all of their time, energy, and effort into this freaking guy and his addiction. Like he's just, I don't get it. I do. This is interesting. So I think since last time we spoke, I have spoken to a few survivors from the early 2000s. A couple of them actually stood trial. One of
Oh,
them actually
wow.
got him his life sentence. Another one was supposed to testify, but she was too afraid. She was a child. And, I was kind of asking about, Sanjana's involved. Did you ever meet her? Because she's always around, right? She's always around.
Mhm.
She's the one who does the worldwide tours of Free Anand Jon campaign. She's his biggest advocate for, this is a racial injustice. This was wrong. And I kind of, I guess, ignorantly thought perhaps she was burying her head in the sand. Maybe her and her mom are in denial because they love him. And, sometimes, like you said, like this was my brother, I'd be publicly denouncing him. But, there are people who just don't want to believe that their loved one is capable of something like this. So one of the survivors was like, I'm going to forward you an email, has all the metadata attached. It is real. It's from 2006. It is photos, to which she has, these photos in real life too, of her as a child naked in bed with Anand, naked in bed after she was raped. And the email was sent to her by Sanjana, not by him, by his sister, as I would assume an intimidation thing. Like,
Mhm.
you better not talk or these are getting out there. So the fact that she is in possession of naked photos of her adult brother in bed with naked children and emailing those,
Well,
she obviously knows that he's.
that's also sending CSAM material
Yep.
over email communications, which I believe is, I'd have to look into it, but I believe that's some sort of a federal crime. I mean,
Oh, it
anything with
is.
CSAM is, but like transmitting it brings it to another level of
It
not just
does.
her having it, but of her sending it. Now she is
Especially over
distributing
state
child
lines.
sexual assault material. Hmm.
Especially over state lines. And so when I was talking to a few of these other survivors, because I know I was contacted by a woman when I was recruited named Georgette, who fortunately got herself out of the situation. And she has very graciously provided me all the pieces to this puzzle that I could not for the life of me understand. And she's been, she's going to be in the documentary series because she's really the only one who's been an associate of his that has
Hmm.
been willing to speak about what is actually going on. And by associate, I mean she was being trafficked. But, you know, that's what she said, and I believe her. These other survivors from, the early 2000s, right? From before he stood trial. I asked them, how were you contacted? Because, obviously there wasn't Backstage back then. There were other sites. And more than one of them said I was contacted by a woman named Rebecca, and I corresponded with Rebecca often. But it was interesting. I never met
Oh,
Rebecca because I met everyone else on the quote team, but I never met Rebecca. And I already had an image pulled up, incidentally, because the one survivor was saying we were at a party with Marla Maples and Anand and his sister and somebody else. And I had found the picture and I was going to say, is this from the event? So I had already had it pulled up and I was like, I'm going to show you something. So I show her the picture. She goes, yeah, that's the event. And like, if you go to some of the next pictures, I'm in whatever this picture. And I was like, can you read the caption? And she's like, yeah, it says, Marla Maples, Anand Jon, blah, 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 some other person. She's like, Sanjana Rebecca John.
that's her middle
I said,
name.
uh-huh. And she's like, my God. Oh my God. So the original person who reached out to these girls appears to be likely his sister in the first place. So it looks like she has not only been aware of this the whole time, but has also been helping to facilitate this the whole time, which makes it even more unimaginably I don't even have an adjective to describe, like going on a world tour to say your brother is innocent, all the while being effectively Ghislaine Maxwell in the situation is like, what are we doing? She needs to go to prison.
Yes, she does. She
Like for real,
absolutely
she needs
does.
to be
And
arrested.
I mean, just based on things that we've talked about today, just that email alone is enough to send her there. Because,
And this,
and
yeah.
then there's tons of evidence of her being the one to reach out. She's the one, when I watched the Pooh Bear interview with Eliana and Pooh Bear, she's just sitting there. Sanjana's just sitting there like this the whole time.
Isn't she
Like,
weird?
it's weird and creepy. Like, she's like a voyeur in the conversation. She doesn't say anything. She's just, it's weird.
The girls who have met her have all said that she's got a pretty foreboding presence. Like very like kind of like stick her nose up at you, kind of like, like not a warm, welcoming presence by any means. And has across the board, these girls have alleged that she has been quite mean to them insulting their appearance, have, a lot of these young women have eating disorders now because of the constant body shaming. And, I find pictures of Sanjana as a full grown adult wearing some of Anand's designs, and she's got like, she's obviously trying to look like a little kid. And, we all age, right? And, I mean, as much as I hate the woman and I think she is a demon more so than she is a human being, it's undeniable that she's a beautiful woman. She's a very, very beautiful woman. And Anand's an attractive guy. Like, their family is quite good looking, which, obviously doesn't hurt their ability to, get people to listen to them, right? But she's aging.
Right.
And she still looks beautiful as she's aging, but she clearly is aware of what Anand likes. And from some of the pictures I've seen of the two of them at parties that I've shown you, their dynamic, especially her toward him. I mean, he's kind of always there, but she's always on top of him or like trying to kiss him on the mouth, or like she is posing with him as if he's her boyfriend. He's not really reciprocating. Usually it seems like he's a little bit like, okay, hey. But I don't
It's
find her relationship with her brother to be appropriate, at least by, my standards as an only child. I don't have a good frame of reference, but
Well, I mean, if you're out finding victims to traffic to your brother, I don't think it matters whether you have a family dynamic to know that that's wrong.
yeah.
It's just evil. I mean, really, that's the only word that there is to describe it that I can think of, and not get censored too badly on whatever channels we post this on. But right, to not just be like, I can see anybody, championing for their siblings' release if they're in prison, right? I get it. Like, your blood is thicker than water kind of thing.
Right.
But if really the reason that he's there is because you were supplying him with people to rape, you need to be in the female version of that prison.
Yeah, and I've been, at this point, the things I can think of, I've reached out to, like I said, so many politicians and stuff. Incidentally, the only person who got back to me was Rokana, which is interesting because he's trying to help with this a bit. And Rokana is also Indian, I think. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure he's also Indian. So that's going to kind of blow the whole racial discrimination element out of this. He did get a meeting set up with me and an assemblywoman from the district that San Quentin is in to discuss this situation. You know,
Excellent.
so that's good because I would like some help, because even people like Rob Bonta and stuff who are, the attorney
Attorney
general
General of the
in that
state of
area,
California,
he's
yeah.
part of the International Justice Alliance. So, it's starting to
And
make
his
sense to me
wife.
now. Right, Mia. Now that the map is expanding, I'm able to see why no one's been willing to help. But, he's been responsive and the only one who's been responsive. I think at this point I did get my hands on the contract from Securus Technologies to San Quentin Prison. What the detective told me is effectively correct. I mean, I have a very limited understanding of stuff people tell me when it comes to technology. He was obviously just like kind of paraphrasing, but what he told me does align with the contract. It was not easy to find the contract. Securus, allegedly has these word tracking softwares, things of that nature, that are supposed to flag or alert things. At this point, the only thing I can really think of is some kind of like multi-plaintiff lawsuit, not a class action, but a multi-plaintiff lawsuit against the state of California, probably Securus Technologies, and maybe San Quentin, depending, because this is something that has been brought to all of these agencies' attentions for months. No one will get back to anyone. From my
And I
perspective,
believe they're supposed to be monitored when they're on these video calls.
so what the detective told me, and this aligned with what it said in the contract, was that they can be monitored. They really don't monitor them unless someone is like, hey, there's something weird going on. Can you monitor these? The good news, however, which they don't tell the prisoners, is that everything is recorded and everything
Oh,
is kept for 7 years. So they can go back to any and all video calls this guy has had, any and all text threads, even if he deletes it. Those exist. Now, whether or not we'd be able to get those via a FOIA request would probably, I don't know what the legalities of that would be. If there is an investigation that's happening, I'm sure they will be like, we can't do that. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. For a while, I did. Now the detective has kind of stopped responding to me. So, one of the reasons I liked corresponding with him was so I would know what they are doing from an investigative perspective so that, I don't tip somebody off to something. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, but now I don't have that. And I am not really willing or able to just be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just let them handle this because
They're
no
not.
one's really
They
doing much
haven't.
except for one of the girls' colleges. One of the girls goes to a college and they were recruited via their college email, like their student email. And
Hmm.
somehow one of these girls like infiltrated the college. And so she went to the board of directors and was like, this is what happened to me. So they sent out an email to all of the students and the staff saying, hey, if you hear from any of these people, anything like this, you let us know and do not participate. They are a trafficking ring. They took it a step further and they were like, we have contacted the basically human trafficking overseeing agency, the missing and exploited children, and the FBI. And they're like, if you're not going to listen to these girls, we are a state and federally funded college. Y'all need to do something because our students are in danger now. So that's cool. I think the more people who are just putting pressure on this is hopefully going to be helpful. I mean, I just feel like we got to get his sister. I'm less worried about this like Eliana girl and all these other girls. I really think they're being trafficked. I really do. I wish I could
Right.
freaking
And
go to them.
they're brainwashed.
I know, and it's frustrating because I don't know. I mean, they're responsible for their actions for sure, but it's also like I see how he brainwashes these other girls, and I understand on some level, and I have a better understanding now of why girls like Eliana and Madeline and his little cult there
Hmm.
continue doing this work for free from what I can see, even though their careers aren't moving. Because one of the former recruiters, I asked her kind of the same question. I'm like, well, your career didn't change? You are making money. Like, what kept you around? She was very much of the belief that Anand was innocent. And, she said that Anand, because he was wrongly convicted, he said basically, according to her, that after the Me Too movement, there are all these celebrities he used to have associations with. He still does. They just can't publicly support him because of the Me Too movement. They'll be canceled. But when he gets out of prison, if you girls can prove and make people believe that I'm innocent, I will get out. And then when I get out, I'm going to be a hero. And all of these A-listers who are too afraid to say they support me and new A-listers are just going to want to platform me because I'm going to be a hero because, oh my God, look what happened to me under racism. Like he's playing this whole card of, social justice being like, and that's when you'll get famous because you're going to be my like right hand people, I'm like,
You were
that
the
makes
ones who always believed in me and always fought for me.
yes. And that made sense to me because
Hmm.
I was like, these girls are not gaining anything from this. They can't. And the only way they can is if they fight to get them out.
Right.
Makes sense. It
Because,
makes
like you said, the San Quentin Film Festival isn't really going to be getting you to the Sundance.
no. And this is the other weird thing. I got a bunch of footage from one of these films they just did, the one they've been doing forever. Seemingly, they
The
just get
Midnight
videos and
one or
send them
whatever.
to on Your Best Nightmare. One
Oh,
of the
yeah,
girls
Nightmare. That's what it is.
was telling me that they went, they filmed it in a high school, and they went and they were like, yeah, we had to sign in with the principal. And I was like, why was the principal there on a weekend? She was like, oh, it wasn't a weekend. I said, huh? She's like, yeah, it was like a Monday. And I was like, during summer break? And she's like, no. And I was like, so other kids were there? And she was like, yes. And I was like, can you give me the name of the school? Because I work in the film industry. I understand this wasn't a SAG production. That's weird. That is highly unusual, even for like a college film project. It's just not how that works.
And
I'm
as
just
an
gonna
educator
go
for
over.
20 years, that's not how
No,
that
I'm
works at schools either. You
no.
don't allow a film crew in because then they would have to, like, every kid who was potentially in the background would be having to sign waivers and all of that.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's,
It's odd.
yeah,
So, I'm
it's
not even
very
gonna
odd.
contact the principal, I'm just gonna go to the superintendent once I can figure out what
Hmm.
school it is, because I'm gonna be like, "Yo," 'cause I guess somebody said they're going back to do more or I'm like, I'm, like, so exhausted constantly putting out fires because every freaking day these people have a new listing somewhere. They've rebranded again. It's like I cannot keep up with the constant BS. It's exhausting.
Right. And that's why they do it, right? They just gotta, they know that there's people that are looking into this. And so they're gonna just keep moving the shells around.
I don't know.
So,
I can't imagine anyone's going to be held accountable until the documentary series comes out, truly. I feel like that's my main purpose for making it at this point is like, okay, no one's going to help.
well, what I'm going to do is look into what kind of legal recourse we have about this, like emailing of that, child sexual assault material, because that
Yes.
is something that tends to get looked at quicker than some other offenses.
And she said she's happy to share that with whoever. She even said I could put it in the documentary as long as I redact her body, obviously, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But I asked the girls who testified, and I said, I'm pretty sure most of his charges are public, but was there even discussion of child pornography? Because he filmed some of these assaults, and they said no. And I said, well, between the message threads I have of him asking for certain content, these underage girls sending sexually explicit content to him, he would absolutely be able to be charged with child pornography, which he has not been charged with before. So those would be new charges, meaning that's not like double jeopardy or something. This is an entirely new set of charges. How
Exactly.
we do that, I don't know, because I don't know if I can press those charges on their behalf or if they have to. I don't want to ask these kids to go through the freaking traumatizing process of trying to press charges against this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think they get, assigned like an advocate
Oh.
to represent them
Oh, I'd
if
be
they're
happy to do
underage.
that.
So,
Yeah, I'd be happy
yeah.
to do that.
So we can look into that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Also, I kind of had a realization the other day that his assistant, Jez, who the girls correspond with regarding what kind of content he wants from them, Jessie Thomas keeps coming up. Back in the day, she ran Arc One Productions. Can't find anything about that. But she used to be kind of the modeling recruiter back when it was like Awakened, like when they tried to recruit me. She's still at all these events with like Adam Schiff. Like she's still always kind of a background character. And she's on the internet. She was not anymore on the International Justice Alliance's website. But
She's
I
on
realized,
B-Fly still.
yes, I realized because I was like, well, did Jez give you a last name? And they said, yeah, Thomas. And I said, I got Jez's phone number. I got Jez Thomas's phone number today. I could never get my hands on it. One of the girls found it in their old phone, so I can send it to you because I would love to know who that phone number is registered to if it's not a Google number. Because some of these people are so comfortable doing this, they've gotten away with it for so long, they're not even bothering using fake numbers no more.
Yeah, sending that number because I can do a background check on the phone number itself, and then that leads to the person associated with it. And so, because her name is pretty common, I tried to do a search, and
Yeah.
it was kind of, how many? I'm assuming it's Jessica, right?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
Jessica
I
Thomases
wonder.
are there? A lot. So, but if we have a phone number, that changes the game.
I also can't find any records anywhere, and I don't think you can either, of any proof of Sanjana being married at any point in the United States. I know she
No.
had a social security number that was given to her in 2007, but that you can get that through a work visa because she was working for her brother. He's in prison, so I don't know what her status, like, does she have a work visa still? Does she have a travel visa? Like, what is her status here? Because I can't find that she was ever actually legally married in the United States.
Well, I think she must have been naturalized or something at some point if she got issued a social security number. But I didn't find
Mm.
any evidence of Anand Jon being issued a social security number. So I don't know if he is a legal citizen in the United
He's
States.
not. To my understanding, he is a citizen of India. And I guess I just never really thought about it because I was thinking of Lucky Patino, right? Because my understanding is Lucky Patino is also not a United States citizen. And I really, I guess, never really thought about like, yeah, so if somebody gets arrested in the United States for a crime they committed in the United States, if they serve their time in the United States, I never really thought about what they do with them after. And I guess on some level I maybe assumed they would send them back home. But then again, like that seems like a lot of money and effort and extra work. It appears that they just kind of say, they just open the doors and say, all right, you served your time. Have a good one.
Well, the way that ICE is these days, they're waiting at the door when they get out.
Really? Yeah.
So maybe it's time to place a call to an ICE tip line.
Dude, I fucking hate ICE more than anything. And at this point, I'm so desperate to get this shit fixed because kids are actively getting hurt that it's like, all right, well, smoke them if you got them.
Right? Fight fire with fire, fight ice with ice, I
Because
guess.
it's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. No one's helping. No one's fixing anything. No one cares. Like, I just, I really want Sanjana arrested. Even if she's just not able to come back to the US, fine. She's the one orchestrating a lot of this. These girls like
Right.
Eliana and stuff, I'm very confident that as soon as they get away from him, they're going to stop with the bullshit. I don't think that any of them are pedophiles.
Right.
I think they're just wrapped up in some stupid shit. But his mom and his sister need to not be able to like facilitate this crap.
Right. So Sanjana not only needs to be locked up, but not be allowed any internet access, just like Anand Jon should not have internet access.
I think
I
that's,
feel like this is
yeah,
something, there needs to be some legislation that if a crime involved children and the internet, that
yes.
you don't get internet privileges.
That's
Sorry.
what I want to mostly interview you about for the sizzle reel when you come into town, because I don't want this documentary series to come off as an overall like fuck prisoner, do your crime, do your time. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think a lot of people can be
Right.
rehabilitated. Of course, there are people who cannot be rehabilitated. Clearly, Anand Jon is someone who has no ability to be rehabilitated. But give the prisoners tablets, bro. If it stops them from fighting each other so much or, you know, allows them to just have somewhat of an enriching life, I don't really care. Just, yeah, this guy literally lured women in via the internet. Just maybe
Mm-hmm.
don't give them to them. He's got a million other things he can do. He can do his music program. He can do his podcast that he does. He can write his news articles that he does. He can have his little
He
film
can paint his
festival.
little pictures.
He can paint his little pictures. He can have his little art shows. He can write his little creepy scripts. He can make his little stupid fake activist coalitions. Like, I don't care, bro. He is busy. He is booked and busy. He doesn't need a tablet to be doing this crap on. He just doesn't. I understand if there is an investigation going on, sometimes they just let people keep doing something so they can collect evidence. But at a certain point, I'm just like, you have more than enough. What are we
Exactly.
actually doing? And I wonder if I fucked up in some way. I feel kind of bad even bringing it to the detective's attention because I worry that maybe he stopped the investigation because he thinks it could reflect poorly on him because he's supposed to be overseeing these people. He's kind of their boss in a way, and this kind of happened under his watch technically. Like I don't know what the right answer is because I don't have any professionals in here who can tell me what the right answer is. I don't know what to do.
Right.
It sucks. It's like,
Well, that's
you know,
something I can work on doing a little research into, like, what are our next steps? Like, how can we keep moving this forward so it's not just screaming into the void? And, I mean,
lawsuit,
yeah. So I think, like you
lawsuit.
said, multiple plaintiff lawsuit with all of the people who he has contacted while he's been in prison. We should, through that lawsuit, be able to subpoena all of the Securus app, like
Right. That's how we would
communications.
get that.
That's how you would get it. Like, it definitely wouldn't be available through a FOIA because I've looked into that already.
Yeah, no.
But if it's part of a case, then it would be part of the evidence.
And I could be a plaintiff because he did contact me and he did attempt to solicit sexual content from me and he did attempt to get me to recruit children for him. So I have every right to file a
So it could
lawsuit
be
against this guy.
Terror Rule et al.
Right.
Versus
And that would also protect
Anand
some of
Jon.
the survivors, you know, their names not thrown all over it. If you could look
Right.
into what kind of attorney does these big multi-plaintiff cases against, sometimes governing agencies? That's kind of a little tricky to find, I think, because
Hmm. You know what? I might be able to talk to somebody who knows
that'd be
somebody in
cool.
that area. So
Because we're being
let
failed.
me,
Everyone is failing us. And it could be a multi-defendant lawsuit. It can be against Securus, it could be against the prison, and it could be against the state of California. Because I don't know
right,
how many freaking times I got to contact these people in California saying, will you just talk to me, please, about this? I don't care if you want to change legislation or not, but there's something happening in your state and you're ignoring everyone. Can I please just tell you what's going on? Nothing. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me.
right. Well, one thing that I do want to share since our last update, you know this, but for anybody who hasn't seen this, on the website anandjon.info, there
Mhm.
is now a tool where you can build a letter to send to the parole board. So if you were a victim
Mhm.
or even if you weren't, you just type in a couple little forms that are pre-built there for you, and as you're
Mhm.
typing, it fills the form in. And that way, that's one thing that people can start doing
That's
now,
awesome.
right away, today. And then all they have to do is it automatically, when you hit download at the end, it creates a PDF and you just need to print it and sign it. You can probably even,
You can email it to them too.
I'll look into that and find out alternatives too if you don't want to, put your DNA on licking an envelope kind of thing.
Right. I know that they got back to me and they said he's not currently up for, well, he doesn't have a parole hearing date set yet. So I was like, okay, we'll just
Well,
keep it on
according to the Department of Corrections website, it's December
December.
2027. It said he's
I know.
eligible in June because that's 20 years from his arrest date, I think. And then his hearing eligibility first meeting is scheduled for December
I mean, I
2027.
registered as a victim of the guy and I keep following up being like, hey, hello. Like, I don't know.
Right, because
And
they're supposed to notify you of any.
the other girls too, they have gotten
Mhm.
no confirmation. You're supposed to get like a number or something where it's like, here's how you get updates. I fail to understand why me and every other girl and young woman is completely being ignored by seemingly everyone.
I think this is an important thing to be documenting too, is how many people are sending these in of the
A lot.
victims
A
as
lot.
registering as victim and not receiving any information back, because there are updates that are happening, right? If that's so,
Yeah, I sent it to the victim
that's
services
definitely
thing.
another.
They said, you've registered successfully or whatever. Like, we'll send you some kind of portal or like a number or something so you can access this stuff. You'll be sent stuff. And it's been cricket since. I have contacted them, no response back. I contacted the parole board and they're like, hey, we don't really know what to do with this because he doesn't have a parole hearing date set yet. And I said, contact somebody. Investigate this. Like every single person is always like, well, that's not my jurisdiction.
Right.
And send it to someone whose jurisdiction it is. Like, I'm
Yeah, then can
starting
you
to
tell me
really have
whose
a very
jurisdiction it is?
I'm starting to have a bad feeling, and I hope I'm wrong and I'm just going, too far into a conspiracy mindset because this has all been so sick and has like tainted the way I view things. I am starting to be like, is San Quentin just like not what we think it is? I don't know.
Or prisons in general?
I just don't get it.
It's
Why are we letting
law
these people?
enforcement in general, and just, yeah.
I think the biggest top priority for me is filing charges against Anand Jon. That's my top priority right now. Get charges filed against him so he can't get out on parole. That is my number one priority is how can I file charges against him? Do I need a lawyer to do that? Can I just file the charges? I don't know. And then number two would be, some kind of multi-plaintiff lawsuit against whoever we can sue. I mean, I'll sue Sanjana for Christ's sake. I'll sue Eliana for Christ's sake. It's not about the money for me. It's about the discovery, which is getting
Right.
those getting that stuff. So I just don't know how to file charges if I never actually sent him sexual content. I don't know if him requesting it is enough. And also he was at a different
It
prison at
is,
the
I think.
time. And I don't know if they still have those recordings of that conversation. I don't know. I don't
Right.
have enough
Well,
proof to file it myself on my behalf, at least.
right. Was it within 7 years?
Yes. But
So
that
if
was
Securus keeps the
Securus only
records
came
for
on this
7 years.
year or 2 years
Oh,
ago,
gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
something. Prior to
But
that, they
that's
were using.
probably that 7 year record keeping thing is probably that number for a reason. So it may be that prison records are kept for that long, or, I don't know. So it's worth looking into. So I'm gonna do some research on that, onto, for you personally, what you can do as far as filing a lawsuit, and then also that multi-plaintiff one. And I'll reach out to the person that I know that is friends with a very, very high-ranking attorney, well-known person. So
That would be awesome. Yeah, I
we
mean, I
can
don't know how much of a
get the
moneymaker
ball
this would
rolling on that.
be because, it's
Well,
more about
again, it's
fixing a problem.
this person that I'm thinking of is doesn't need the money, right? They're
Okay, cool. Beautiful.
like a household name attorney. So
Oh, sick.
I
Okay.
will, and if nothing else, I think, he'll be able to direct me to somebody, to the right person.
I think
So
that's our only hope at this point is new charges. That's
yeah.
it.
And then the other thing I was thinking about too is, now that the detective's gone radio silent with you, we had talked before about me reaching out to him, which I haven't done
Sure.
yet. And maybe a journalist reaching out to him might get a different response. It might also just really shut things down. So I, I'll,
No
I'll,
harm in trying. I'll give you his.
I'll, I'll run it by you and kind of see if it's the right vibe. And
I'll send you his email, his phone number, and his direct line. You can try. I'm not. I mean, even
I'm
if
not
you
going to
can
hold my
get
breath.
out of him information, like, are you guys still doing something? And if so, can you at least freaking tell Tara where you're at so she doesn't accidentally blow the cover of some investigate? That's why we were always in correspondence before, because he would be like, hey, maybe don't say XYZ. Yeah, okay, we got enough for that. Go. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm just like flying blind,
Hmm.
and I don't want to
Right.
fucking give up.
Exactly.
But if people are actively being harmed, so it's like I have to warn people, but in the same breath, it's like I don't want to accidentally tip off the wrong person. It's like I wish he would just talk to me for real. I don't know why he won't talk to me. I've reached out to him so many times. He's like completely ghosting me. It sucks. I thought I thought me and him were in this together.
Right. We thought we had one of the good
My
guys.
feelings are also hurt because he would always be like, Tara, I'm so grateful for you. And I'm like, I'm grateful for you. Thanks for being one of the good guys. And now I'm like, damn, did he freaking trick me? I don't know.
Or is it just something where he's realizing, oh, I better not be putting myself out there on the record or even off the record? I don't know.
I
It's weird.
mean,
So
it might
I'll,
be because he had access to my entire Dropbox folder. And in there, he knows I'm making a documentary. So, like, there's all the recorded conversations of me and him. And he might be like, I don't know
right.
if he's like,
Yeah. Who knows?
who knows,
But
right? But
I
I'm just,
don't
if
have
he could
access
just
to
tell
that
me,
Dropbox. So I
huh?
can tell him I don't have access to that. I'm, you know, working with you on this case, but independently investigating things, and just trying to
Yeah.
figure out where things are. If they say that there's not a parole date, why does it say December 2027 on their website?
I think they meant they haven't scheduled the exact date. That's when he's technically eligible. But, just because you're eligible, it could take months or years to get a hearing date set. I think they don't even look at this stuff until there is a date set. However, I don't think there's harm in, there's going to be so much information. It's like, y'all should probably start looking at this sooner rather than later, or else you're going to be crunch time trying to go through all this crap 2 weeks before. It's not. And I don't even know if I'm
Right.
registered as a victim or these other girls are either. I don't know. Because if we are, we can go to the hearing, we can speak, we can tell what happened to the judge, but otherwise we can't. And I have no way to verify if myself or any of these other girls or young women are actually registered. I don't know.
Right. Because just getting an email saying, hey, we got your email, but never getting that access to the portal, is that
I'm just
just a
frustrated. I'm really
email glitch, system glitch, or what?
I'm very frustrated. I'm just so grateful to have you because you've really gone above and beyond and taken off a lot of the load because I feel like you're like handling a lot of the like, oh, hey, what steps can we take next while I'm over here spinning my wheels trying to put out the fires? Because I kept trying to get into what you're doing. And I'm like, every time I turn around, there's another girl reaching out to me. There's another Facebook post. There's another Instagram account. There's this, there's that. It's just like,
It's too much for, like you said, even a 100-person team to handle. So I think, splitting so that I'm also not researching stuff that you've already researched, right? Not a good use of my time. So we'll just keep coordinating. And then anytime something pops up where you're like, feel like we need to figure out something about this, just send me a message and we'll get on it.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think
Because
also
with
the
this coming
IRS.
up next year, yes, definitely. I think that's a big thing because there have to be 990s or other forms that they've filled out. And if there aren't, then they're
Mm-mm.
completely out of compliance and they need to be shut down.
Agree. And there aren't any.
Nope.
I can't find nothing. And that's not
So
something that's private. It's publicly available information.
exactly, because
I mean, they'll
they're
just start
a
another one.
501c3, which makes it public,
They'll just
right?
start another
But
one.
hopefully, but we can track it as we will. But if we can get it shut down, get some kind of, compliance thing slapped on them.
You know what I would love
And
for you to
didn't you say
do?
that is Raj the one that's under investigation by the Texas State Bar?
Supposedly, I reached out to them yesterday and I said, hey, what's up? Where are we at? Because I also have new information that here's what they're doing with his 501c3 registered in his name. And they said, well, a detective will reach out to you and you can update your complaint at that time. I said, cool. When's that going to be, though? Because there are little girls being threatened from my perspective. It appears to be witness intimidation. So can we get a move on, please? I would love, if you're comfortable, for you as a journalist to reach out to him because he won't get back to me. But if you want to reach out to him about the International Justice Alliance.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm sure he tracks what you're up to online, so he might be aware of me by now, but maybe not. Just as a, journalist reaching out, I'd love to hear, what are your primary sources of funding? I know because I am an associate director of a 501c3 nonprofit. I know the types of questions that they ask you, like on
Yeah.
insurance and all the things that you need to do to get that legit. So
I wonder
I
if
can
Anand would talk to you.
absolutely do that.
I bet Anand would maybe talk to you and give you an interview.
Like, yes, because he just, to those people, any press is good press, right?
He won't
So,
talk to me, I don't think. I haven't tried, but I think there's a way you can contact inmates at CDCR. I wonder if you'd be
mhm.
comfortable talking to him. And you don't have to lie to him and be like, I'm on your side. You can just be like, what's
No,
your side?
no, I'd
What
be
is your
honest, but
side?
yeah, yeah,
What is your position?
yeah.
Because I'm not super keen on talking to him because
No, it's too
I don't
close.
think I would
Right,
be able to have a conversation with the guy. That would not be just it would bring out a side of me that I don't think I would respect very much. I'll put it that way. I like to handle things
right.
with grace, and I have seen too much at this point to be able to do that. If I had to, sure, but I just want to tear the guy up for real,
Yeah,
like verbally. But he'd probably talk to you. He loves attention. He's like Manson. Manson didn't care that he
exactly.
was bad press. I think he's probably just sitting there waiting, hoping someone's going to reach out to him. So you can try that, see if he'll
Yeah, well,
talk to you.
I'll be reaching out to a few people this week for sure, or in the
Thank
next
you.
week, and I'll prioritize it. He's definitely not the top of my priority talking to him personally, but it'll be on the list. But for number one, I want to get those lawsuits and figuring out what we can do about Sanjana with those emails. So
Yeah.
anything that you can do. So if you have been contacted by Anand Jon Alexander, please reach out and send information to Tara so that she can collect that evidence. So
Yeah.
the more that we have, the stronger the case will be. And the
You can
more,
share my
I think,
email
the more
address.
people, the more the evidence comes up.
You can
Oh, yeah,
share
I
my
can put it
email
on, I'll put it
address
on the screen.
because
Hmm.
DMs and so I get tons of DMs. I mean, Instagram's better than TikTok for DMs, but even on Instagram, I get tons of messages to unrelated content because I don't have a niche. So, I get a lot of DMs and they're hard to get through. But if I get an email, I will definitely 100% see it. You can just ask them to maybe put on and John in the subject line just so
Perfect.
we can
I
try
can,
to
you know what I'll do
see.
too is I can create there's already a link to my email on the website, but I'll put one to yours as well. Like if you have evidence,
That'd
that
be
kind of
super
thing.
helpful.
Yeah, I
Thank
can
you.
just make it a form so that it'll automatically populate the subject line and drop down of like what it's about, whether it's evidence or tips or that kind of thing. So
Beautiful. We
awesome.
gotta find where
I think
St.
the
John
more
lives.
the more that we can just consolidate things and for people can go to one place and get all the information they need or submit what they have, the easier it is for everybody because, like you said, you're bouncing around through all the different apps trying to get through all the DMs, and same with me. And then I'm also working on other cases as well where I
Right.
have the same thing. I just started on a new case yesterday that's
Jeez.
wild. And
Oh,
so, yeah,
also, since this is going on the internet, if anyone knows where Sanjana Jon lives or stays in the US, it's not doxing. Don't put it publicly in here, but send me an email. It would help with the reporting certain things to certain people. I don't know where she lives or stays.
she's
No idea.
also one that I would like to put together a question list for. And
I don't
whether
think she's
it's
going to talk to
contacting
you.
her, yeah, I'm sure she won't, but I
Mhm.
can document that I tried and that she didn't, which is,
And if you would maybe, honestly, there are people I don't want to reach out to personally because they hate me. I can give you a list, like even Eliana and stuff. Like if you reached out to them, that because I want to make sure for journalistic integrity, I say I reached out to so and so for comment but didn't hear a response back. I don't feel comfortable reaching out to Sanjana, to his mom, to Eliana, to the girls directly. I've tried to reach out to a few of the girls directly. I got basically told like, "What are you talking about?" I have no idea, girl. Which is probably just him anyway on their accounts. So if you could, I can give you a list. That would be really helpful so that I can have that base covered. Because I know Netflix is going to ask that too, you
right,
know.
right.
And you don't have to
Yeah,
reach
email it to
out when you're
me.
making a documentary. You can just leave it at, I reached out. If you didn't answer me, well, sucks to suck. That was your chance. Goodbye. Like,
Yeah, I always put a deadline in request for comments.
me too.
So, yeah.
I'll give you some
So,
email
yeah, well,
addresses.
excellent. I'm ready to get to more work on this because I don't know, like you said, every time you go down one rabbit hole, it just like opens up a whole bunch more. And then now you find new people to look into, or, like why are there multiple things that mention California Attorney General Rob Bonda and his wife being at these events? But it seems like it's more than just at the events. And
It
the
is.
fact that they're not responding to us when we ask them directly is odd.
It is. I'm just also just want to say again, I'm so grateful that you've taken so much of this work on, but also just like even talking about it, it's like added a whole new level of legitimacy to it instead of me just looking like some unhinged conspiracy theorist because I'm so aggravated about this that I'm not the most eloquent when I talk about it, unlike other things. It's added a lot of legitimacy for a really important reason, which is that, a lot more survivors are coming to me now because you've been posting about it and they either follow you or it's been sent to them, like, because you are obviously like a reputable person, unlike, I'm just some lady yapping online, right? Like, I don't have the same level of like, legitimacy, I guess. Like, that's been the coolest thing that's come out of you covering this is all the people being like, okay, this is other people who are reputable are looking into this and confirming that, yep, this is weird. So thank you for that.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I feel like I'm just some random woman yapping on the internet as well, but I'm trying to point my yapping in certain directions now, and it's helped me to focus too because when I was just focusing on the Epstein files, it's so much. It's too, it's so overwhelming, and it's here I'm like, okay, I can focus on one creep who's still active. Great.
And all the files are not
And in
redacted.
the exactly. And we have people that we can actually contact who are still alive. The person
Yeah.
himself is still alive. The person who's doing the trafficking and in the Glen role is not in a minimum security prison or anywhere else. So we've got lots of avenues to pursue, which gets me excited. And working with you has also brought more legitimacy to me too, because people are like, oh, hey, I love her. And like the gal that I'm working with on this other case right now, Anne Green, when I mentioned to her that I was working with you on this, she's like, "Oh, I love her. Oh my gosh." So like,
Oh,
knowing
cool.
that I'm working with you brought, you know, clout for me to her. So it's just this network, right? And that's what I love about it is that we're all here to support each other and amplify each other because none of us are here to make money off of this. We're here to raise awareness and to also help people do something about it. People are so
Right.
frustrated hearing about all these crimes that have happened and people just getting away with things on one level or another or being, able to get back out, whatever it might be. So what can we actually do? And
And
if that's what I bring to this, I'm happy for that to be it, and
I
to be
guess we're
the
the ones.
person that comes up with the action items.
Yes. Like, some of the stuff you've come up with is stuff I never would have thought of, and truly, I think, we used to live in a world where if attention was brought to something, people would see it, and somebody would come in and save the day. We live in an entirely different world now where it's like, you can talk about it, and the people in charge are not going to help you, so someone needs to do something, and in this case, I'm pretty much the only one who has the full story since he's been locked up, and all that documentation, all stuff that's been wiped long ago, that's archived. You know what I mean? Like, it I gotta do it. Nobody else really has this information to this level. I mean, you have the evidence map. It's
Right.
a lot,
Right.
like years
And
worth
it's
of.
good that you have all of the information shared with other people as well for your own protection. I mean, again, like we said, these guys, like, are we really worried about our personal safety with these particular
No.
guys? But if
No.
they, if they're really feeling like their backs are up against a wall, Sanjana and some of the others, you never know. So the more people that have this information, which is also part of why it's important to make this public and share this kind of
Yeah.
stuff as widely as possible, because people be disappearing, and
Oh, they
the
do.
more that
I mean,
people
I've
know
got a
about
ton of.
it.
There's not a moment where I don't have a private moment anymore. I'm never alone. And even in my most private moments, I got cameras all over every place I regularly visit. And if have to go somewhere, I do not go alone. I got protection. I'm not too worried about them doing anything to me. But like you said, people can do crazy shit when their back is up against a wall, especially if they're realizing, they may get in trouble. I really don't think they think they're going to get in trouble, though. I really, really fully believe that Sanjana and all these people are like, they're full of shit. They're just yapping. Nothing bad is going to happen to us. And it's like, I don't necessarily need that something bad to happen. I just want them to stop. That's it. Just stop. Just knock it off.
Right.
And we can all,
As
unfortunately, just
Erica
move
Kirk
on.
says, stop.
Right. I don't get it. But yeah, I'll give you a list of people I'd love you to reach out to. Even Obie Anthony. He won't talk to me, but I really feel like Obie Anthony has been used in this situation. I feel really bad that he's publicly associated with this. I don't want his reputation to completely get shit on when this stuff fully comes out to its maximum potential of exposure. But again, I mean, he could be a piece of shit for stuff we don't even know about that has nothing to do with what he was exonerated for. I don't personally feel that way, though. I think
Right.
he's probably being used as a prop, which is disgusting.
Right. And it just adds a whole other layer of evil to this, where they're taking
Yeah.
somebody who really was wrongfully convicted and, like you said, using him as a prop, and like, look, and everything you see about IJA, it's Obie Anthony, Obie Anthony, Obie Anthony, because
Mhm.
it's a name that people know. It's a story that people know. Anand Jon is really the main one that
Everyone
they're
else is already
justice
free.
cases.
Right, and has been
So, right,
exonerated.
if
Like,
they're so concerned about freeing people who are wrongfully convicted, why is he the only one that's in prison that they're trying to help right now?
great question. I
Inquiring
would
minds
love
want to
to know.
know.
That's a good question.
Well, I am looking forward to getting to work on this
Same.
and checking in again, in a week or so, or
Yeah,
whenever we have more
we'll
information
probably
on
do
this,
some
because
weekly meetings
exactly.
and a
Yeah. And
meeting.
then in a couple weeks we'll be in person together, so we could even
Perfect.
do like a live together or something, which would be
That
fun.
would be great. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, have a
All right.
great day, and
Me too. Thanks again for
pet an
your hard work.
animal, get out and touch a tree or something, and
Oh, yeah.
that's mostly me telling myself that, because otherwise I will just sit on my computer all day and just be like, so
Yep. Same.
I have to find balance in our lives when we're like so ingrained in these things,
I
or
know.
it will just eat away at your soul.
It is.
So
You're right. I'll go outside
on
and
that
touch.
great and exciting note, stay feral, America, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.